Nick Spicer is there to talk a bit more about that phone call which took place between the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and one which the British government is saying throws a lot of doubt over the possibility of an EU agreement before Britain is due to leave the EU. Nick, the Germans are not confirming what was said in that call.
No, they're not. There is no official comment in expert circles. I think there's an unofficial eye roll at what is leaking out of Downing Street. Angela Merkel's spokesman has said he's not in the habit of commenting on the private conversations between his boss and foreign leaders. It needs to be pointed out that a month ago, Angela Merkel said before Parliament in setting out her general policies that all methods must be used to achieve a Brexit deal, that Germany needed and Europe needed to maintain hope in the process. Last week, she said that Germany and the European Union must not be haughty going in to negotiations. Now, had she actually changed policy in the way that the leak from Downing Street is alleging, it would have been a radical turnaround. She would be in big troubles with her coalition partners, and I think it would have leaked into the German press by now. It has not. The German press is saying that this is something coming from Britain, and it needs to be pointed out that it is not Angela Merkel who negotiates for Europe. It's Michel Barnier who is the Brexit negotiator. People know that here. And in foreign policy circles, there's a strong sense of déjà vu when they look at how the Brexiteers, the people campaigning for Brexit, campaigned. They went into these tropes going back to the Second World War where Germany was always the country to blame. So hence the eye roll. Germans, I think, in the foreign policy establishment are used to playing this role of being the bad guy, if you will.
And I mentioned a short while ago the EU Commission President Donald Tusk lashing out at Boris Johnson and saying this is not some childish blame game. You know, this is serious. And both EU leaders and British opposition leaders have really taken the Prime Minister to task over this, haven't they?
Yeah, they've sort of picked up the baton from the silent Germans, if you will. Donald Tusk, as you're saying, talking about the blame game, saying that Johnson doesn't know if he wants a deal, an extension, or to revoke Article 50, which is the time, the indication that you're going to leave. And tweeting in Latin, Quo Vadis, where are you going? And then we have Nicola Sturgeon, who is, of course, the Scottish Premier, again blaming Downing Street, saying that the United Kingdom is trying to shift the blame for Brexit in a pathetically transparent manner. And then there's the Labour Brexit spokesman, Keir Starmer, saying this is yet another cynical attempt from 10 Downing Street to sabotage negotiations. So back home in the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson facing criticism and skepticism over whether or not that conversation took place, or at least as far as its contents go, and certainly as far as Germany's guilt or responsibility goes, not setting the scene in a very, let's say, peaceful or prosperous or likely way to create a deal when the European Union heads of government and state meet in Brussels next week, at the end of next week, for that make or break Brexit summit.
Nick, thank you very much indeed. Nick Spicer there in Berlin.